Hi Pre-K Joy, it's Miss Ashley, and I'm coming in here today bringing you our next Bible story in the big story all about Jesus. Now last week we did a story about creation, where God made the world and God started everything. He made day and night. He made the sky and the water. He made mountains and grass, trees and flowers, the sun and the moon and the stars. He made all kinds of animals that swim and fly and crawl. He made all the animals that live on the earth. And then he made the man. And the man's name was Adam. Can you say Adam? The man's name was Adam in the story. Here's a picture of Adam right here. It says Adam had a special job. Adam's job was to give names to all of the animals. There was lots of wonderful animals for Adam to meet, like dogs and frogs, birds, squirrels, and butterflies, and he named them all, which is such a cool job. Wouldn't you love to have that job? That was Adam's special job because God loved Adam. But even though there was many wonderful animals, Adam was lonely, and God said, "It is not good for Adam to be alone." So God made a woman, and Adam called her Eve. And Eve was just right to be Adam's special helper. God picked that person just for Adam, and they were perfect for each other. Here's another picture of them that I want to show you. They lived in a beautiful garden that God had made just for them to live and grow and be friends with the animals and name all the animals. And that was on day number 6. And we remember from our story last week, what happened on day number 7? Did God make anything on day number 7? No, he didn't. He rested on that day. He didn't take a nap. He just didn't make anything. He said, "I'm all done and everything I made is good." He said it was very good. So on that day number 7, he rested. He just leaned back and he was just watching everything and watching his animals and Adam and Eve, and he was just saying that it's all good. He was all done making and working that day. Uh-oh. God gave the first 2 people, Adam and Eve, a beautiful garden to live in. The garden was full of food that they could eat. God also gave them one rule. Just one. Only one. That was it. It's easy to follow just one rule, isn't it? Is it harder to follow like 10 rules? I would think so. God gave them one rule. Since they lived in a garden, there were many trees, and lots of trees had food on them. He told Adam and Eve that they could eat from any tree, from any bush. They could have all the strawberries, all the avocados, all the bananas that they could want. They could have all the food they could want from any tree except for one. God said that if Adam ate from that one tree that was in the very middle of the garden, they would die. He said, "Adam and Eve, I made you a beautiful garden to live in. I gave you all this delicious food. There's peaches, there's apples, there's grapes. But that tree in the very middle, don't eat from it. Don't eat that fruit. Don't eat those ones. You will die if you eat from those ones." And Adam and Eve said, "Okay, that's easy peasy. We can do that. We just won't even go over there. We won't even look at it. We won't even touch it. That's so easy, Jesus. We have lots of good food over here. We don't have to eat from that one. We can totally obey you." They said, "Okay, God, you're the boss. We're totally going to obey that. We could totally do that." So they lived very happy in the garden. They ate whatever they wanted. They could drink water from the streams and the river, and they were very happy. But uh-oh, one day, Eve walked away from Adam and went walking through the garden all alone. This was not a good idea. She went walking all alone through the garden, and all of a sudden she met a snake. The snake started talking to Eve in the garden when she walked away from Adam, when she was all alone. The snake started talking. This is for real. He said, "Did God really say you can't eat from any tree in the garden?" And Eve said, "We can eat the fruit from any tree in the garden, but not the tree from the middle of the garden. He said, if we eat that fruit or touch it, we will die." And the snake said, "No, you won't die." The snake said, "That fruit is the most delicious fruit in the garden. It is so tasty. I've tried it myself, and oh, how yummy it is. And you know what? It will also make you smarter. It will make you as smart as God. You won't die. You'll be just like God, and it's so delicious." That's what the snake said. So Eve looked at the fruit that God had told her not to eat. She walked over to the tree and thought, it did look very delicious. And the snake said it would be okay. And she thought maybe she wouldn't die. It looks so delicious and yummy. I probably won't die. I think it would be okay if I just take one little bite. That won't hurt. I won't eat the whole thing. I'll just pick one and I'll just take a tiny little bite and I won't eat the whole thing, just a little bit. I don't think God would be mad at that. So Eve took the fruit off of the tree and ate it. Then she thought that she wanted to share some with Adam. Oh, it was delicious. It was the most delicious fruit she had ever had. She took some off the tree and she went over to Adam and found him. And Adam said, "Is that the fruit from the tree in the middle of the garden?" And Eve said, "Oh, it is the most delicious fruit. You have to try some, Adam." So Adam also took the fruit and ate it. All of a sudden, they looked at each other and they knew they had made a very bad choice. Look at that. They're looking around and they know that they made a terrible, terrible choice. They had just one bite. Just one bite was a bad choice, huh? Even taking it off the tree, even touching it, that was a bad choice, huh? Oh no, Adam and Eve, what are you guys gonna do? They both had taken a bite and they knew that God would not be happy. Later that day, God came walking into the garden. And Adam and Eve knew that they had done something bad, so they tried to hide from God. They hid behind some bushes. And God said, "Adam, Eve, where are you?" He wanted to walk with them. And Adam said, I'm hiding over here." And God said, "Why are you hiding, Adam? There's nothing to hide from." And Adam said, "I was afraid." Then God asked, "Did you eat the fruit that I told you not to?" And Adam said, "Well, no, Eve ate it first. Eve ate it first, and then she gave it to me. It wasn't my fault, God. Eve was the first one. She took it out of the tree, and it wasn't me. She took the first bite, and then she gave it to me. She made me eat it, God. It wasn't my fault. She made me do it, and she picked it off the tree first." And Eve said, "The snake told me it would be okay. It wasn't my fault. It was the snake. He told me it would be okay. And I just thought that you wouldn't be super mad, God. So that's why I took a bite. It was the snake's fault. It wasn't my fault." But God was not happy with them. They're hiding from God and then they're telling God that it wasn't their fault. But whose fault really was it? It is their fault. They did the wrong choice. God was very sad at this choice. He told Adam and Eve, "You did not obey me. You will have to leave the garden." It was a very sad day when Adam and Eve had to leave the garden. They had to leave their beautiful home. They had to live outside the garden in the desert, in the wilderness, where it's scary and they'll be all alone. They were going to be alone from God. God was walking in the garden that night because God loved to be with Adam and Eve. He would walk with them and talk with them and be close to them. Now that they disobey, they have to leave. They do not get to be with God anymore. They are going to be separated from God. That is just so sad. God sent an angel to the garden. The angel held a fiery sword. He flashed it back and forth, and no one would ever enter the garden again. So God took the garden away from them, and he made sure no one would ever go back inside of it again. This is for real, a true story. This is what really happened. And this is how sin came into the world. This is how we have sin now, because Adam and Eve sinned the very first sin. They chose to listen to a snake instead of listening to God. What a sad and terrible choice they made. But you know what? It says over here, God had a plan. Remember? It's all about Jesus. Remember, it's all about Jesus? God had a plan. A long time from now, God would come to earth as a baby and grow to be a man who would defeat sin and save God's people. And his name would be what? Jesus, that's right. Even though Adam and Eve sinned, even though they do not get to live in the garden anymore, they have to leave and go far away. And their kids and their kids and their kids and their grandkids, they don't get to be in the garden either. They are also going to make bad choices. And they don't get to be with God. God already had a plan that Jesus was going to come and save everyone from those sins. He was going to save Adam and Eve from their sin of eating the fruit. He was going to save me and you from the sins that we do every day. Jesus already had a plan. Even when Adam and Eve were going to sin, even when they made the saddest choice, God already knew what was going to happen. He already had a plan for it because he's in charge of everything. That is so cool. There's a question in this book. It says, did Jesus ever sin? We already read a lot of stories about Jesus. Did Jesus ever sin? Do you remember? Did he ever lie to anybody? Did he ever steal anything? Did he ever hurt somebody with his words or make his mom mad or yell at his parents? Did he ever do any sins? You already know the answer to this. No, he didn't. Jesus did no sins. That's how he can save us from our sin, right? Okay, you guys, I hope you liked this story. You can watch the Hey O Jesus video after this that goes along with the story. We will come back next week to hear more exciting stories. They're not all going to be about sin and sadness. This story was a little bit sad, and it was about sin. But the next story is not going to be as sad. They're going to be exciting. They're going to be about how God saves people and takes care of them, and I can't wait to get into them with you. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!